In a world that's always racing forward, sometimes we need to slow down and reconnect.
Connect genuinely, broaden your perspective, and share your passion.
Bonafide dialogues, where authenticity, creativity, and passion merge.
Welcome to Bonafide Dialogues.
It's so great to be here, Christina. Thanks for having me.
Carla Swiryn believes that finding a compatible partner should be easier. Way easier. After working in marketing for 10 years, including optimizing ads at Google for 7 years and running her own ad agency, she found her true passion in matchmaking. She worked for 5 years at a matchmaking company before founding DateSpot in 2019 to make matchmaking better and more accessible to everyone. DateSpot is an innovative matchmaking company that offers risk-free matchmaking on a pay-per-match basis, resulting in no pressure on either side. Through a network of matchmaking companies, it also allows singles to meet the clients of multiple matchmaking companies as identified by the pros themselves. DateSpot's unique approach includes super thorough profiles with video clips whenever possible to provide deeper level insight about who to spend your life with. Carla has successfully matched dozens of couples, officiated a wedding for one of them, and met babies from different families she's created. Her favorite hobby is tennis, and she enjoys when a new game starts and she gets to say, "Love all." She lives in Silicon Valley, where she was born and raised with her own fabulous match, Greg, and their delightful 3-year-old daughter, Ava. You can check out and sign up for DateSpot's pay-per-match service at datespot.love.
Loneliness is a growing concern all over the world. Some countries even appointed ministers of loneliness, such as Japan and United Kingdom. So it's a serious problem all over the world. But we all want to love and be loved. And today we will be talking about matchmaking, an industry built on the belief that no one should have to search for love alone. Matchmaking has been around for centuries, but to be honest, I don't know much about modern day matchmaking. So I'm very excited about today's episode. I hope to learn a lot. We all know about dating apps, and it seems like people tired and sick from using dating apps. So what is the difference between dating apps and matchmaking?
Yes, and you are not alone. A lot of people are confused about what matchmaking is and don't have experience with it. But online dating, when it first started, it was so small. And then year after year, it grew. An interesting thing is that matchmaking is having a comeback. So online dating is still obviously huge, and a lot of people meet their partner that way. But a lot of people are feeling burnt out. They're feeling frustrated. They're feeling tired of the ghosting and all of the problems involved with online dating. And a lot of people are super busy. So matchmaking is a great alternative or addition to online dating and meeting people out and about and through friends and family. And the main difference is that someone is a human, right, or a team of humans is looking for you with matchmaking. That's the common denominator, is this human component, this human touch. It's so interesting because we leverage tech as matchmakers, or at least I would say the good ones do, DateSpot does. And with the advent of AI, we're going to see tech being utilized even more in the matchmaking space. But there will always need to be some element of a human actually getting to know you, at least a bit, getting a lot of deeper level information, right? And then presenting people to you as options, or as, depending on how the matchmaking company works, it could be an option for a date, or it could be, this is your match. It counts, towards a quota or not. And there will always be this human element.
I love that. I feel like we're missing it nowadays.
We are. People are, and I think the apps have done a pretty good job of a lot of asking, certain questions and allowing you to have flexibility in terms of what you ask and what you don't. But um, there's a lot of room for improvement and a lot of vagueness, right,
Mm,
that goes on. And people aren't necessarily open and honest with online dating
mm,
because they are projecting what they want the public really to see. With matchmaking, it's private.
mm.
So
I
people come
like
to us
that.
often because they are celebrities or because they are physicians or teachers or whatnot. They want that confidentiality. They want more of a curated kind of matching process. Um,
That
and
sounds amazing. That
yeah,
sounds
and people
amazing.
also are able to then be more open and honest with us about that information. But yes, matchmaking is designed to be not only, more personal, but also much more thorough in the information that we collect. And then we can present to clients a more thorough view with our impressions of that person, right? So that you can make an informed decision about who to meet. Do we think they're super smart? Do we think they're truly kind? Do we really think that they're family oriented? Right? These are things that
Mm.
you can't really assess. Are they willing to relocate? And if so, where are they willing to relocate to you? I mean, these are things that the apps don't do well and can't do well right now.
Oh, I'm glad you started talking about it because I wanted to ask you, what are the five things matchmaking can tell better than the app?
Mm. Yes. Okay. So I have gotten into that
Yeah.
already. But yes, I would say one, location, what we just touched on. Where is someone open to?
Yeah.
And are they willing to move? Right? This is something that matchmaking can do really, really well. It can get people outside of their area, which they may have tapped out on, right?
Mm.
Um, Another thing is we get into the nuances much better. So, for example, let's take religion or politics. Let's just take religion. Let's just say I'm Jewish and I say that I'm half Jewish, but let's just say I selected that I'm Jewish um, in an online dating app.
Mhm.
Okay, what does that really mean? There is
Mm.
such a range of what Jewish is, or how I practice, or what I believe. Someone doesn't even know if I believe in God or not,
Is it a big
right?
part of my life or not, right?
Is it, how big of a part is it? Now, sometimes online dating will get into the second level of how important is that, but it's still, they're not going to tell you the details, right? Do I believe in God? Do I go to temple or church or whatnot? And if I don't, would I? Would I convert to
Mm.
someone else's religion? I mean, the options are just endless, right? And how important is alignment in a partner? These days in the US, politics matters probably more than it has before. And
Yeah. To me,
someone
it
might be a
wouldn't be a deal
Democrat.
breaker. Yeah. But
Right.
some
It could
people
be a deal
very
breaker for some
serious
people.
about this. Yeah.
Right. And so we don't want to assume on an app, if someone says that they're a Democrat or a Republican, what does
What
that
does
mean? Are
it
they open
mean?
to me if I'm the opposite? Or how important is that in their life? These are really important things to get to, that matchmaking can get to. Another would be um, privacy, would be a third one, right? Having this be confidential.
That's
Um,
important. I
Another,
think many people value privacy.
definitely, definitely. And another is just the level of commitment involved. So if you are looking for a long-term serious relationship, maybe you don't need it to be serious right off the bat, right? Matchmaking doesn't necessarily force you into that. You take it at whatever pace you want. But a lot of people are looking for long-term partners. And matchmaking already has people step over that hurdle of having to ask them that, right? Because if they're taking the time to go to a matchmaking company or even be recruited by a matchmaking company, fill out, let's be honest, generally a kind of long, pretty thorough application, submit multiple photos, probably meet with the matchmaking company. There's a level of seriousness there and a level of commitment. And so even if the pool is smaller for any one particular company than a Bumble or a Hinge or some other online dating site, it's about quality, not quantity, right?
Right. And it
Um,
seems like financial aspect of that plays a role too. If somebody is investing in their personal life, right? They are taking it seriously, so they're ready for a serious relationship.
Definitely. Most matchmaking companies actually have a free route. So it's important to note that there are a lot of matches that are with a client and a non-client. And that can be fine. DateSpot has about 85% of our database not paying anything.
Mm.
And that's great because it means that our job is just about getting the best fit for our clients. It's not saying, oh, well, we need the other person to pay.
Mhm.
They're not willing to pay, so forget it. It really just focuses on who is the best fit.
Well, that's interesting. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about your company and the process. Because, for example,
Yes,
I'm unfamiliar with this process, and I'm sure many people don't know. How does it work?
yes, yes, definitely. And I'll tell you a couple other benefits of matchmaking. One is verifying that people look like their photos. There are very few apps that have this verification. And even when they do have that verification in place, it's very limited, right? We don't get a sense of who they are, how they talk, right? With matchmaking companies, they're individually meeting people, typically these days by video call, and getting a sense of not only do they look like their photos and are their photos recent, and is this person real, but also much more about their personality from a human standpoint. What is their voice like? How do they talk? Do they have an accent? Right?
Yeah.
How intelligent do they sound based on their speech? Right? So there's a lot more there.
I think it's a
And
very
then,
good point you just made about the pictures, because now with I know many men have concerns that women edit their pictures a lot with all these editing apps being so popular, and men, generally speaking, don't have good pictures.
yes, people in general don't have good pictures. But I will agree with you that it is more of a male problem, probably just because women often take more photos with friends, I think, and they're
From this
more
angle, from
camera
that
aware.
angle, right?
Yeah, right. They know their angles better.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other big benefit of matchmaking is something that people don't think about. But if you're a client, not a candidate, not a non-paying member, but if you're a client and you're paying, then you will get feedback from first dates. And that's such a unique thing. You don't get
Mm.
that anywhere else, right? Unless you were to go with a coach that specifically set up mock dates. But this is you going on a real date and getting real feedback. And so even someone who's fabulous and does well on dates and is so charming, there could be something about how they're presenting themselves or
Mm.
what they said or did that could help them for the future, that they can be conscious of for the future. And so matchmaking
I
is
love this because there's so many people that come back from dates and like, I don't know why it didn't work. It was a perfect
exactly
date. And for another
right,
person, it was a disaster, right?
right. And your
So,
perception of it might be off. So matchmaking is so great because it clarifies the person's intentions and what they want. Do they want to see you again or not? And then it can really help you in this journey of self-growth and really being your best self for that person or for somebody else.
Why did you decide to start your own company?
Well, I was in marketing for 10 years. So I didn't major. There's no major for in college
Matchmaker.
for matchmaking. But clearly I did not major in it, nor did I jump into it right out the gate. I was in marketing for 10 years, and seven of those years I was at Google in ads, building and optimizing online ads. And I really truly thought that that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I ended up leaving Google to start a small online ad agency, and I ran that for a few years. But as can happen after a while, I started losing the passion
Mm.
for the industry, the passion for my own company, the passion for all of it. I didn't really see as much value. The space got more competitive too, as more and more companies were going online. I was doing the right things, but not necessarily getting the great results that I wanted. And I'm one that's all about results. So
I think we also think a lot about the impact, you know? I feel like with matchmaking, you're making such a huge impact in people's lives.
bingo, I didn't feel that I was making enough of an impact in what I was doing. And I feel that this is very appropriate to be on your podcast because you're all about talking with people about their passions, and this is really a story of waning passion and then finding my true passion.
Yeah.
And so I got so lucky. I was talking with a girlfriend about my agency and about that I just wasn't making millions, nor was I really that happy anymore. It's just what I knew.
Mm.
And my friend said, I know someone who started a matchmaking company out of LA, and they're looking for someone to help launch the Bay Area where we are.
Yeah.
And I said, well, okay, they were looking for someone part-time. And I thought, okay, it's really different, but I'm from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, I can help get people into a database. I can do that. So I did. I raised my hand, and then in a part-time capacity, I was helping them. And what I found is that I was waking up in the morning every day, much more excited to help out this other
I
company.
love that. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, well, okay, let me throw my hand in the in, my throw my hat in the ring. So when my boss said, we need a matchmaker, it had been about 5 months or so since I had been working for them. And I said, what about me? And so I had to really pull my ego away from the rest of my life and what I thought my life could be, and say, let's give this a real shot. And so I started with the matchmaker with them, 3-day rule in 2014. They're still operational, very operational. And I worked with them for over 5 years. And I helped them, really grow the
You
company.
have a lot of experience in matchmaking.
I started DateSpot at the very end of 2019 because I wanted to do something that had not been done, which was to bring relationship-minded singles together with the clients of multiple matchmaking companies.
Mm.
That did not exist. So that's what started DateSpot. That's what it was about, is really creating this marketplace, to use business speak, that allows singles to be identified by matchmaking companies.
From the technical point of view, there's a lot of work to
Good
be
thing I had
done.
a lot of engineers working on the project, and now I've gotten to a really good place with it. We have really focused a lot more on matching people ourselves, which is, you have to be okay with things changing when you're running a company and not be afraid to make changes and take risks. I realized that a lot of people could be served well through my matchmaking. And so I really wanted to do things differently. So our matchmaking allows people to be clients and receive affordable matchmaking on a pay per match basis.
Mhm.
So beyond a $2.99 video call, which is basically a long consultation,
Yeah.
um, where we get to know the person, review photos, get into relationship history, clarify the search. Beyond that, you'd never pay unless we have a great match who wants to meet you and you want to meet them.
Mm.
That's really revolutionary in the industry. So the combination of that with us leveraging an entire network of matchmaking companies that we have as really solid partners and still allowing them to identify you, that combination is really innovative in this space. And then beyond that, something else that is very new is video.
Yeah.
So we now allow people to upload, we encourage people to upload a video snippet in their profile, in their account, that we can send to potential matches. And that is so helpful in them seeing the person and getting a sense about them
Right.
beyond just the photos.
Yes, it's completely different story than you see a video or a picture. You can, yeah, read so much more information from the video.
Right.
Yeah.
And it could be that we essentially shot ourselves in the foot. It could be that we say, hey, here's a wonderful person and here's their video. People can see video if they have uploaded their own.
Mm.
So we could say, here, you've uploaded your video. Here is this person's video. And they may have before said yes to the person, but with the video clip, maybe they're not feeling it. But I would rather that happen and us get closer to the right person for them.
Exactly. That's interesting. So the way this process works, if I'm understanding you correctly, the person wants to use your services, your company's services. They would pay one fee for the initial interview, and later on, you take on this project of finding their match. And if you believe that there's somebody out there in your huge database that would be a great match, then this person would be paying for a date, right? For the first
Correct.
date.
So you're paying for an intro, and the intro is someone's contact information, right? It's
Mm.
paying for we do text intros because that protects confidentiality well,
Mm.
generally gets a faster response than an email intro. So you're paying $6.99 for that intro, but
Mhm.
you only pay when there is mutual interest. So
Yeah.
that pay per match model is so unique. And typically, I don't know, you might not know what matchmaking costs, but we can get into it. So generally, matchmaking is $10,000 minimum.
Mhm.
Now, there are some companies that will go lower than that. You might find some very small, kind of local matchmaking companies in smaller markets that are charging less, but we're still talking absolute minimum 5K. And this
Yeah.
is all up front with no guarantees. I mean, I like to equate working with a matchmaker to working with a realtor. You you don't need a realtor to find a wonderful home that's right for you, but it certainly does help, right? But
Absolutely.
the big difference is the pricing because you're not paying your realtor a ton of money up front. In fact, you're usually paying nothing up front, right?
Yeah.
So I think that what is the more fair model is to have it be pay per match. And since DateSpot started, there are some companies, I know like one in Australia, like another, there's some small matchmaking companies, one in the Midwest that do pay per match. But even then, they're they're generally charging more than $6.99, right? But if all matchmaking companies started doing pay per match, I'd be thrilled because
Mm.
part of what I want to do is elevate the industry and have us all be working as best as we can for as many people as possible.
What your company is doing, it seems fair.
I think so. And we do get a lot of people who work with DateSpot simply because of the pricing model. That's fine, right? Let's
Yeah.
test it out. Let's see how your search goes. Because no matchmaker can really say how successful they're going to be or how many matches they will be able to present, unless it's blind dates. Blind dates, you can say, okay, we've got 10 people lined up, and then we're going to take you on in a certain capacity at a certain price. But that's another problem because, yeah, we can go there next. But you really don't know who is going to be interested in you and who are you going to be interested in until you get into the search. And so that's part of what I love, is that it's not just no risk for the client, it's really no risk for me too, right? It's a lot, or
Right.
very little risk. It's a lot less
Yeah.
pressure on both sides.
Yeah. And do you think that matchmaking is for everyone? Any
I
age?
will say,
I mean, 18 plus
yeah. It's a really tough question. I believe that matchmaking
or 21 plus,
should be
probably, I should
for
say.
everyone, right? I think that, and this might sound, I mean, obviously I'm biased, right? But I do think that through DateSpot, matchmaking can be for everyone, because as long as you're willing to pay $2.99 for a 45-minute video call and to try it out, which is really cheap in this space, we will see how your search goes. And so there are no guarantees of matches, but it's very rare that we take on a client and don't have at least one recommended date for them in 6 months, right? Very rare. So we offer a $49 15-minute phone consultation. If somebody isn't sure that they want to go through the full process yet, or even just pay for the deep dive video call, we can have a phone consultation with them. There have been some cases where I have said, you know what, save your money, save your $300. We don't have any matches for you now. What's interesting about this is that it doesn't necessarily mean that I can't match them up. Because if I take someone on as a client, even if I have nobody in my network for them, I will go to partners. And so that's what makes this so interesting, is it's a very collaborative industry, but DateSpot specifically is extremely collaborative with our special partnerships. So, but there are some times where I say, I have a sense of, even with partners, this would be very, very difficult. In fact, I just spoke with a 77-year-old woman today in Oregon. She was absolutely lovely. But once we get, 75 plus, especially with females at that point, it's a really tough search. And I would rather her meet people on Our Time or Silver Singles or Match. I shouldn't say I would rather, but that will be a better use of
For
everybody's time.
her. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm open and honest with people, and I tell them whether I think we would have any matches for them.
Yeah.
But I do think that in the industry now, matchmaking is very elite, and it's really elitist. So because of the price point and because of the way that matchmakers present themselves often, with everything, their luxury lifestyle, everything has to revolve around luxury. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want a luxury lifestyle, if they want a luxury lifestyle, that's fine, right? And they are working with a lot of extremely successful professionals and a lot of people, generally women, who want a successful man. So that's what they've decided to focus on. But that does not mean that the whole industry has to be like that. And it certainly is not representative and indicative of all singles out there
Absolutely.
and all quality singles, if you want to go there. So what I believe is that matchmaking should be more for everyone, right?
Right.
And it should be accessible to so many more people. And it doesn't need to be stuffy and, assuming that you have or require a super, luxurious lifestyle.
Right. No, that's interesting. It should be accessible to more people.
Yeah, I mean, I've had paying clients who are teachers, who are firefighters, who are police officers, who are, social media managers or whatever. I mean, and a lot of people in their 20s too are not able to afford traditional matchmaking. But I love the fact that we can help many more people.
Sometimes people just not ready for relationship. They think they're ready, but
Yeah,
I think when they go through this process, they may realize I'm not ready. Maybe I'm still heartbroken from my previous relationship, right? So I think it's
right.
good.
But sometimes the reverse too. And that's interesting. It
Mm.
could be that someone uh, doesn't necessarily even feel that they're ready, but they just meet someone, we're just talking outside
And it
of
works,
matchmaking. They
huh?
might just stumble across someone. They might be on Tinder and thinking that they just want something casual, like just some casual hookup. And then it may turn into something serious because they think, wow, this is someone I really connect with. And I'll give you a pretty close to home example. My husband, like my my husband, when I met him, he was not officially divorced.
Mm.
And it wasn't anything, there was no overlap, okay? He
Okay.
was not living with her, and it would have been over for a long time, but it was not officially over. And did Greg want to get into a serious relationship right away? No. But we happened to meet, actually on a dating app. We happened to meet because matchmaking, it's very difficult for matchmakers to find people through their own system. You can't
Mhm.
really do that.
Yeah.
So I was on an app and I met Greg, and this is another example of the app not necessarily doing the greatest job, but he didn't want something serious, and I did.
Mm.
Fortunately, we were both good communicators, and early on, we did discuss it. And we realized that very quickly there was a super strong connection, and we couldn't deny it. And we ended up even splitting for a little bit. You're just saying,
Mm.
"What, we seems like we may have different goals," and then we came back to each other because
The
this
connection was very
time we thought,
strong. Yeah,
wait a
it was the
second,
right
yeah.
person.
Yes, so we talked about, hey, could you actually see long term here? And we talked about kids. We talked about some really important things in order to help make that decision, right?
And that's interesting. And he was separated, but it was just a matter of completing all the paperwork, right? But there are many, many people on these dating apps that say they're separated and maybe they got in fight with their husband or wife and they're just sleeping on the couch. I'm
Yeah,
separated.
yeah. Right,
So,
right. Separated could be
so
a lot
that's
of
why
different
I think
things.
matchmaking is good because you can find out those things.
Right. Yes. And some people coming out of a marriage or coming out of a long-term relationship really appreciate that matchmaking helps them get back out there and is a much more efficient, quicker way to just start going on some great dates and get that feedback about dates too.
Yes, if somebody was married for 20 years, dating seems like something scary, maybe. You know,
Yes. Yes.
things
And a lot
change,
of times, yeah, I
right?
mean, we're even like, where do they go? They're like,
What do
oh,
I
okay.
do? What do I say? Where do I go? There are too many questions, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're like, okay, so Match.com is the only game in town, right? And the landscape changes so quickly. So one of the things I love doing in the deep dive video calls is consulting, not just about matchmaking, but consulting about someone's kind of dating landscape as a whole. And there could be some other avenues that I might suggest for somebody.
Yeah, and I think maybe for men talking to women and see women's perspective as a matchmaker, and maybe for women talk to men matchmakers too. Are there men who work in matchmaking
No,
industry or not?
very few. Very few.
Mm.
Yes. We have three that I know of. No, sorry. There are a couple that are male and female, like husband and wife pairs, which
Mm.
is an interesting model. like Real Black Love. They focus on the African American community. They're a married couple. But in terms of, and even that's pretty rare. But in terms of just male matchmakers, I would say there's three that I know of.
Mhm.
One focuses on gay men, so it makes
Mhm.
sense that it's not a woman. One is based in Australia, and then another is in California. I mean, there's not many. I'm not saying that there are no other male
Yeah,
matchmakers out there,
it's
but
not very common. Yeah,
very rare. Yeah.
interesting. And you have been working in this field for so many years, and I can only imagine how much you know about men and women and relationships. So I wanted to ask you, what do women generally look for in a man, and what men generally look for in a woman?
This is such a cool question. And I would say there's not necessarily a super specific, scientific answer. But we do know certain things. Like, uh, for example, men generally want someone that they'll often ask for something like um, drama free.
Good one,
I
good one.
think, yeah, and everybody's different, but I think that, a woman having a level head and being able to stay calm in an argument, that goes a long way,
That's a good point.
right?
And of course, everyone is looking for something different, but there are
Right.
some general thing maybe you can see across, you know,
Generalities, yes,
yeah.
yes. So, um, often what men want is someone hot, right?
Mm,
They are more visually driven and their brains are wired a little bit differently, right?
right.
So yes, they're going to pay attention to the photos more, right?
Okay.
And I think women also want someone who is attractive to them, but they're willing to, if they're considered a 7 out of 10, right? They're willing to go for a 4 if he's kind, smart, successful, similar hobbies, that type of thing. Um, I think
It's
a
so
lot of it
subjective too, right?
is, yeah,
Because what can be hot for one man, it's not going to be hot for another man, right?
right,
So we
right.
all have our preferences.
That's right. Some men prefer, real slender bodies, and
Mhm.
some prefer more curvy and
Yeah,
uh, facially. I may be attracted to more of a round face with, certain features, wider set eyes and a small nose. And you might be more attracted to kind of a more classic Roman man. If I'm going to make
yeah.
an assumption about you, being
I
straight.
just don't want people to be self-critical, for everyone.
Right.
Somebody will look at your picture and think, oh my God, she's the most beautiful woman on earth. Just for that specific man, the beauty is such a subjective
It is. It is.
topic.
And
Yeah.
whether, like even makeup is interesting to think about and talk about because some men really don't like a lot of
Yeah.
makeup, right? On a
The more
first date or
natural.
as you're getting into it. Yeah, they want a more natural kind of look. And actually a lot of people in the Bay Area, I think, fall into this category, right? Very kind of natural. People in
Yeah.
Marin where it's,
Yeah.
hiking oriented, no more
Yeah. Yeah.
mountainous.
Yeah.
Yeah, people in Colorado where I graduated from college, they tend to like a more natural look. But a
Yeah.
lot of people prefer just someone looking like they, take care of themselves and they don't care, or maybe they like some, a good amount of makeup on. Even like a Kardashian kind of look can be really hot for them. And of course, if you go down to LA, a lot more people do wear more makeup and New York, there's just kind of
Mhm.
like more metro areas where it's a little bit
Yeah.
more um common,
Yeah, here
right?
in the Bay
Yeah,
Area, it's interesting. Yes, many people like very active, like going camping. Like I don't like sleeping in the tent, but so many people love camping and hiking. I love hiking. But interesting, yes, there is different dating culture in each
yeah,
area, right?
yes. But no matter where you go, there is one given, and that is that everybody wants someone who is happy.
Hmm.
Happy is key. And this doesn't mean that you walk around in a, happiness bubble and every moment of your life you're just
Yeah,
smiling and being
life.
optimistic and, and pretending to be happy because, obviously humans have emotions and we all get scared. We all have, fears. We all have, down minutes or days, or our toddler might be frustrating in some moment. And so, yes, we have to experience those. But how we process our emotions is really important. And what is our default worldview, right? Is it a more
Mm.
positive worldview, right? If someone is being negative a lot of the time,
Yeah,
it's just not fun to be around. And
no.
it's just not going to connect with somebody. And so, some profiles, usually this is a male's problem, but it actually can really be either gender. Sometimes you don't have any photos where you're smiling, or you have a photo where you're smiling, but it's like, it doesn't really feel real. It doesn't feel genuine.
Mm.
It feels like you've been, smiling for 15 minutes straight, and it's kind of like waning. So
So that's
it's
something you would recommend to singles, right? Take some pictures when you're doing something you love and have those natural smiles. Maybe you're laughing, and that would attract more people, right?
definitely, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more that I could get into in terms of what people want back and
What
forth.
tools do you have in toolbox for singles?
What tools do I have in my toolbox for singles? Oh gosh. In terms of like helping them find
Yeah,
the right
helping them to
partner?
find the right person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh gosh. Well, we just talked about photos. So I'll start with that. One would be getting better photos. So I love consulting on people's photos, and I'm really open and honest. And I will tell you if you need more photos, and then I'll consult again. And if I don't think that your photos are really up to par or presenting you accurately and or well, that could be that they're just not very recent. Um, or
And
you
I
don't have
like
enough.
that you're very, very direct. I think it's good.
I am, yeah. I will tell somebody and I'll say, you need more photos. Come back to me when you have more photos. And then we'll get started with outreach, right? Sometimes I'll just pause people's search until we have enough appropriate photos. So one of the tools that I have is referrals to photo shoot companies.
Mm.
If we don't have enough photos that are really good of you, then you probably do need a photo shoot.
Yeah.
And
You
so I
also
have
don't
somebody.
want too good, you know? You want to look the same way as you are in life, in real life. Like
Yes,
you don't
it's so
want,
important. You don't
yeah.
want to go to a date and then have the person be disappointed.
Yeah, some professional pictures look too good. It's like, oh wow, that's good.
Oh, right. Well, yes, the companies that I work with do a very natural style,
Mm,
right? Sometimes people say, I don't want to do a photo shoot. It looks cheesy.
mm.
I feel like generally gone are the days of like the JC Penney, you know, really cheesy poses and stuff. But it does depend on the photographer a little bit. You could get a bad one. Fortunately, I know some very good photographers and photography networks, and so that's one of the tools that I like sharing with
Yeah, if
my.
you like playing tennis, for example, go play tennis and ask somebody to take pictures of you, right? Or have a photographer, professional
Exactly.
photographer, or like
Yes, a lot of
live
times I'll say, "Oh, you're really
pictures.
big into tennis, so that would be amazing to get a shot of you on the court." Especially for men, because men like activity partners in some capacity.
Yeah,
And they often like if they're active slash athletic, like they want to also visually see that. So it's really
yeah.
important that you're not just taking good photos and
Yeah.
recent photos, but you're taking photos that show you in a dynamic way because all of us are interesting and dynamic,
Yeah.
right? And so we want to show different facets of ourselves and different activities that we like to do. And even if you don't have one activity that you really like to do, then show something interesting. Show you where when you were visiting at Disneyland or
Yeah,
where.
traveling. If you like traveling, yeah.
Yeah. Another tool that I really like sharing to help people get to the right partner is coaching. So
Mm.
I don't do coaching. It's not really my specialty, and I don't want to fake it. I'd rather get people to the right person. So I partner with really amazing coaches, and almost anyone could use at least a few sessions of coaching, right?
Yeah.
To get deeper into someone's relationship history, their attachment styles,
Mm.
who they're really about, and whether their criteria really is serving them, whether their preferences and criteria are really appropriate, or whether it makes sense to expand their mindset, and really helping them get past, deep trauma and pain in a lot of cases to make sure that they are happy enough to be able to attract a partner and present well on a date and make it last, make it work.
I think that's a very good point. I think it's first challenge for many people is just to get that spark, even if we need a spark. I don't know, it's a different conversation,
Yeah.
just to find the right person, but then make that relationship last, right?
And that's where I think coaching can really come into play. Now, there are matchmaking companies that charge a lot more than DateSpot that integrate coaching in, and that can be really, really helpful. So there are many matchmakers who also are coaches,
Mm.
some who are a lot who are like certified
Yeah.
relationship coaches. So you can figure out what works for you and talk to different matchmaking companies and kind of make the
Yeah.
best choice. But yeah, I have some coaches that I really love and respect.
It seems like it's a very interesting job you have, but it also can be challenging, right? What are the some of the challenges that you're facing when it comes to
Gosh,
matchmaking? Yeah.
gosh, yeah. There's a lot of challenges with matchmaking. I mean, when matchmakers start, when they're first getting into the business, they often are very starry-eyed and they think this is going to be fun. And I'm going to make so much money and I'm going to make so many people so happy. And it's
Yeah.
going to be, can't believe
That's
I'm
how
never
it
going through
sounds,
this.
right?
Yeah. Well, you do have those days and you do have those couples, but you can't be successful with everybody. And part of it is that a lot of the people who come to matchmakers by nature are super picky.
Uh-huh.
That's why they're there. Hey, I
Yeah.
haven't found the right person. I could use you. And so we're dealing generally with very selective people, right? And so right there, we know we can't be successful with everybody, especially because I'm not hand holding them at every moment that they're communicating with people. So even if I bring you a wonderful person who is right for you, truly compatible with you, at
Yeah.
least on paper, and you guys hit it off on the first date and you hit it off on the second date and you're super excited, the final conversion, coming from an ad background, the final conversion is really up to you to make that work,
Work.
to make, even just to make him a priority in your life, right? And to communicate well, and communicate your wants and your needs and all of that. So that's one big challenge is that not everybody's fully happy in the end. And with other matchmaking company models, it's even more pronounced. With DateSpot, fortunately, we don't actually have that many people who are like really unhappy because they know that we've searched for them. The absolute worst case, if we were just like we didn't find anybody who we thought was appropriate, then they'll usually say, "Okay, thanks for searching," and that's it,
I think
right? Because they have
many
faith
people
into it.
that just hypothetically speaking would many people have this idea in mind of their of the person they're looking for, right? Like this is my type, that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
That can be difficult to find.
It can be difficult to find. I think one challenge is just like inventory, right? If you're like, okay, I want a guy that is making $500,000 a year or more. He is between 35 and 45. He doesn't have kids. Wants to have kids. He graduated from an Ivy League school. He is but like super humble. He's like very, very attractive, but very, very humble and super, super kind. And he lives within a 30-mile radius of me. Anyway, you get the point, right? So I would love to have an unlimited amount of these men, right, or women or whatever to bring to you. But we're dealing with real people, right?
Yeah.
And in our model, they have to be interested in you as well. So it's that kind of combination. So I wish we could 3D print people. That would be a really interesting business. But we can't. So one challenge is just like what we'd call inventory of, who's out there.
But maybe you don't even need the type of person that you think you need.
Yes, that's
You
another
know,
challenge.
some people are very self-aware and they understand that, the range of people that you may be happy with. But some people have this narrow view of that person,
Yes,
potential boyfriend, girlfriend, potential husband or wife. And
right.
it's very hard to step away from that image, right? But I think by stepping away and maybe going on a date with somebody who is not your typical date you would go for, you may be surprised, right?
Totally. In fact, another personal story with Greg. Greg, he's heard this before, so I'm not going to totally hurt his feelings. He's very attractive, but he wasn't my type.
Mm,
My type was, more, yeah, small nose, kind of wider set eyes, more round face, and kind of, just sort of a baby face.
oh,
And
interesting.
and it was also like color wise very different than me. So I tended to go for men who were like Latin or half black or, more of an exotic kind of darker skin.
Mm, interesting.
Anyway, Greg
You
ends
never
up,
know
having
what who people are attracted to.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
and I looked at his photos and I was like, okay, he's got, more prominent nose and his eyes are close together like mine, kind of not like grossly so, but he just looked kind of similar to me and he didn't have that sort of exotic look, although he is from France. So there's a
Mhm.
level of exotic and not being just like me. Um, but I thought, you know what? He's kind of cute and his
Mm,
body's like looks really nice. So we went out and then it was yes, I was attracted and the attraction grew from there
mm,
based on who
yeah.
he was showing me to be. And this actually reminds me of something, another thing that people really ask for is someone truly kind. And it sounds so simple, but a lot of people have been in relationships or almost gotten to the relationship point. They've been out on dates and recognized that the person wasn't just as genuinely kind and generous and sweet as they wanted.
Yeah.
And I think this is an important lesson for everyone, but I'll say as a woman who, I don't know, only grew up with a brother, and my mom was like very and is very direct, we'll
Mm,
say. Whatever is on her mind, she will say it right then. Um, I don't think that I myself had that like sweetness in me, and I was almost afraid to show a real vulnerability and a real sweetness
mm,
and a real generosity of spirit because I thought that was like uncool. And
mm.
I think a lot of women will put on they'll have this shell because it's protective, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't want to show who they really are and they might be kind of more just hard, like more of a hard ass, you know?
Yeah. We all have this kindness in us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
you're
it's about,
right.
it's
Maybe
true. It's
some
about
people
tapping into it
more open to show
and
it.
letting yourself really truly connect with people and really truly just be kind. One of my favorite quotes is from I think we're about the same age, and so maybe you remember like Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Remember that album?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. So she says, "Don't be a hard rock when you really are a gem."
Mhm. Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
beautiful. That's beautiful. And I think I like that you started talking about it because life is so can get so stressful, complicated, and we become strong women, right? And we're using our masculine energy more nowadays than we
Mhm.
should. So I
Yes.
think women need to embrace their femininity. Like embracing femininity is so important. And sometimes people think that femininity is something weak, but it's not.
It's
It's
not.
a strong power of femininity that the society is missing, right? If women are more feminine, then men feel more masculine. And together, it's a beautiful thing, right?
Yes, definitely. And that feminine energy is talkative, actually. It is talkative. So it's not that you're just sitting there, not talking, not doing much, just looking
Power of
pretty. No,
femininity.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of power in femininity, but it also means that you are a good listener, right? Everyone needs to be a good listener, right? You can't just be talking about yourself on the first date and whatnot. And a lot of feminine energy is receiving, right? Not
That's
necessarily
true.
being as, yeah, like getting out there and like
That's true.
but allow the man to step up, for lack of a better way to say it, in order for the man to get proactive, which a lot of women want, in making suggestions for the date or, asking you out if you're talking at an event or whatnot. A lot of that is just showing that you are sweet, showing that you might have a little bit of interest. It could just be some faint smile, right? Or smiling in your eyes, right? Too. Um, and just giving him space to do that, to make those moves.
I like that. Yes, that the energy of receiving and a lot of intuition too. Listen to yourself, to your heart, to your intuition.
Yes, definitely.
And
Hmm.
also, people expect to go on the first date and think this is it. I like that you mentioned something before the fact that it will grow, with the right person. If matchmakers made that match for you, trust it a little bit. If you're not impressed on the first date as you expected, give it a chance.
Yes,
You may
especially if
you
someone
may
said
you
one
may
thing that you didn't like. Like if they say,
say
"Oh,
that again.
wait, last week I murdered somebody." I mean, yes, okay, there could be some things like that, but that's going to be pretty rare. It's more often that someone says something off that you didn't like. Oh, let's take for example, tell me about your family. And if they say, "Well, I don't have a great relationship with my brother," or "I don't have a great relationship with my dad," or something, alarm bells are going off in your head, right? Ding, 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 ding. Oh.
Yeah,
And let's just, again, give someone space and time to, in their own time, to tell us what that is about,
yeah,
because we have no idea
yeah.
what it is. It could be that someone has some severe mental illness or that they were really not a good parent, by any,
Yeah.
yeah, any
People
standard.
judge
Yeah,
often
people
very
they get
fast. Yeah.
really judgmental. Yeah, so we want to err on the side of giving people grace, you
Mm,
know.
love that. Yeah.
And I say, if I present a recommended date and you absolutely know in a million years this is never going to work, I
Mm.
have to trust you, right? And we'll pass. No problem. We'll move on.
Explain why, right? You have to give feedback.
That's helpful. Yes, some feedback. But if I present somebody and you are on the fence, that's when I want you to trust me. Because, again, like we're still talking about, the attraction, the interest can completely grow as you get to know somebody.
Yeah, and the first date can be dangerous territory. People get nervous. Somebody can say something
Yeah,
stupid and think, oh my God,
right.
why did I say this?
I
Why did
know,
I
I've done that a
do
million
that?
times.
And
Right.
just leave all your judgment at home
Yes. And
for
I think
first date at least,
another one
right?
with that would be either talking a little bit too much or talking not enough. I think that one's definitely one that based on just nervousness can be overcome. So there are matchmakers who actually set up uh, client contracts such that you have to go on 3 dates
Mm.
with a match before you can, say no. It's kind of an interesting model. Other people might
I
say, hey, I
wouldn't.
would
Yeah, I
encourage
wouldn't
it,
want that.
right?
That's a
Or
little
like
bit too
encourage
much
the
pressure,
second
no?
date if you're thinking about it. Yeah,
Oh, I feel like we can talk about it for hours.
I know.
I would like to
I
know
know
where
there's
is
so,
this industry is heading to, in which direction?
oh yeah. Um, in exciting places. So one thing to know is that matchmaking is on the rise.
Hmm.
And online dating is actually decreasing a little bit. So the stats do show that there are more and more matchmakers. There's a proliferation of matchmaking companies, and that makes matchmaking uh, just more popular because people have their own personal and professional networks. And so with how easy it is to start a business now and to start matchmaking with the tools that are out there, like the CRM Smart Match that I use. I'm their liaison between the matchmaking world and their tech, their team. So I'm helping them optimize this leading CRM out there specifically for matchmakers.
Yeah.
So it's just so easy to get something that is out of the box, right? And there's training programs too that people can go to. You don't have to, but there are training programs, certification programs that people can do to become a matchmaker pretty much right away. And with DateSpot, once you have a website, once you're a verified professional matchmaker, then we allow you to automatically have a database, right? With our
Mm.
database. So you can pay, our matchmakers pay $95 per month for access to our database. And then it's $250 per person that you bring into your network. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
And it seems
uh,
like the tools are getting better. It seems like, for example, artificial intelligence will be able to determine who is the best match for me, for example, easier, right?
yes,
But then I thought about it. I think, okay, long time ago, we had, for example, in some areas, arranged marriages, right? And they worked pretty well. Sometimes we think, oh, maybe my family knows better who is good for me. Maybe I
could
know and
be,
nobody else knows.
could be.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So who
But
knows
with
best?
arranged marriages, their times were really different, right? Back then. I mean, there were a lot fewer people in the world, so there's fewer options. Women didn't have as much of a place in the workforce, and so they had fewer options there too. And we also don't really have stats on like how happy people
Yeah.
were. Um, Anecdotally, though, if you speak to people who are in arranged marriages, actually the satisfaction rate is pretty high, like
Yeah.
in
And I
India.
know, yeah, one
Yeah.
couple very
But
happy.
they've often come into it with this mindset of, I'm going to make this work and I'm going to see the good in this person and they're going to see the good in me. And so,
I
yeah,
like
arranged
that. I
marriages, I'm
like
not
that
necessarily
point.
saying go do that. I do think that our model is better than that,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's not that it can't work. But I do think what you're talking about is spot on. That where the industry is going is leveraging tech to a greater degree so that matchmaking can be much more efficient. So,
Mm.
for example, right now we do have an algorithm, custom proprietary algorithm that we leverage for our matchmaking.
Mm.
And it really helps identify where the matches lie, and I can quickly see, you know, the red lines, like the red components are the dimensions that are really important that don't align between two people. And it can map out also the green that does align well.
Yeah.
We have suggestions of potential matches, but the tech is going to get more and more advanced in terms of, how that looks. So I'll just give you one example. What the system doesn't do right now, we don't have alerts.
Mm.
So that's something that's on the roadmap to create an alert, a notification as soon as somebody signs up, the system knows exactly which clients they're a probable match for. And
Mm.
that's coming actually very soon. And then I think also what's happening with the industry is we're going to see more video and
Yeah.
online dating sites and apps have started to center a little bit more around this, or even just have it as an option. So, for example, the League, they launched a component where at a certain time every evening, every Sunday, a group of people would get together and they would do video dates. So it was like a blind date, but it was still, or you knew who you were meeting. And there are companies now that are more video based, where you meet people kind of like speed dating, right? You're meeting people, but they're online.
Yeah.
And so that live video is one component, but another is this more pre-recorded video. And so that's what
Yeah.
DateSpot is doing to kind of help both identify, do that verification of identity, and also to share that with people so that super quickly, without them even having to block off any time on their schedule, they can get a better sense about people. So I don't think that that has really caught on with the matchmaking company. And no, I know it hasn't caught on with the matchmaking company yet, but I think it's going to.
Interesting. I wanted to go back to one point that you just mentioned, that in the past, people would go into relationship with the intention to make it work. That's something that we don't have now. We have it maybe a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
And it's like in the past, if you buy a watch and it breaks, we would go and fix it. And now we just throw it away and go buy a new one. And I think it's also translated to our relationships. If something doesn't work, I can find another one. There seems like so many people out there, but
I know it's a
realistically,
good problem and a bad problem, right? Because there's this like commodification of people with online dating. It's become way too easy to just get back on and try to find somebody
yeah,
else.
I don't
But
like
guess
that.
what?
I think
Like
you need to work on
everybody
your
has,
relationship.
yeah, and everybody has nobody's perfect.
Nobody's
You have to
perfect.
keep that in your head. Nobody's perfect. The question is is what someone is bringing to the table compatible with you, right? It's not, let me find someone with the perfect resume who has no flaws. It just
Yeah.
doesn't exist,
And
right?
I personally wouldn't want to be with the person with no flaws or very little flaws.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Where
If they think
you
they
you
have no
want to
flaws,
know
especially.
that I'm not perfect and the person who is with me is also not perfect. Where
Yes.
somehow you make this puzzle to fit together with all our imperfections.
There's a book that is very old. I think it was written in the 40s or 50s. And it's called The Art of Loving. And
Mm.
it's by Eric Fromm. He's a German philosopher, a German, okay, I think philosopher. Um, but the book is really very interesting because it laid the groundwork for a lot of future thought about intention and how we should go into relationships, the mindset that we should be in. Because he
Mm.
said, he was, I think, the first to really publish this. Love is not a thing that you just fall into and then you're just in it for life.
Yeah.
Love is an action and it is a choice. And it is a choice that you make every day, right?
Mm.
To not only be loving, which is so important, but also to be loved, to let yourself love yourself and be loved, be vulnerable, and to continue to choose someone every day. Even if you do get into a fight and you're the type that typically runs, right?
Mm.
I mean, I'm not saying stay in a relationship where there's tons of fighting all
I
the time.
don't
You have
like
to,
those types
right?
that run.
But, but yeah, just because you got into one fight or two fights, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not compatible. So it's really important to, I think, to have that mindset that love is a choice and it is a mindset.
No, that's beautifully said. That's true. So let's fix our watch. No need to buy the new
Yes, see if we
one.
can fix it first. Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because there's so much history with that watch and there's so much beauty, right?
Exactly, exactly. And you always think there's somebody out there who's better. And there is maybe somebody who is more beautiful, more intelligent, more successful, but you can't run and try to find a new person all the time. There's something so special about being in a relationship with this special person who's special to you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Somebody who
exactly. If you
somebody
keep
who
doing
got your
that, you're
back,
gonna, sorry?
somebody who got your back, somebody
Yes.
who would be there for you no matter what. It's like the
Yes.
best friend, but with attraction piece.
Yes. Dependable, trustworthy, yeah, kind, smart. I call it the four the four essentials, right?
Mm.
Kind, smart, attractive, what we'll say attractive to you, right?
Yes.
Cute to you. Um, and and funny. I think that you have
Mm.
to laugh with your partner too,
Yeah.
right? And that doesn't mean that everybody, again, that everybody has to be, Seinfeld,
Yeah.
Trevor Noah or whatever. But you really should have a good mix of depth and levity in what
Mm.
you bring to a first date, initial dates, and also, who you are as a person, I think is helpful. And that leads into a relationship. So sometimes you feel like you have all the levity and not enough depth. Sometimes you
Mm.
feel like you have the opposite, but it really should feel that there's both. And so a big part of that is, do you have fun with this person? Do you laugh with this person? You keep coming back to how does this person make you feel?
Mm. How this person makes you feel.
Mhm.
That's good. I think that's great. When we talk about not just first date, but actual relationship, I think it's important for women, generally speaking, to feel loved. And I think it's a goal for men to actually find out what would make her feel loved because we're so different. One of my friends, she feels loved, and her husband, for example, gets gas for her car or does something for her, like
So
somebody
he's more of
that
an acts
you
of
love.
service
Yeah, it
person.
depends on your love language, right?
Yes, yes. I'm
And for
glad you brought about the
men,
love languages. It's fascinating, and there's a reason why it became such a powerhouse of thought and industry. Like it really does make sense. I break it out into in our onboarding, I break it out into what do you naturally want to receive in terms of a love language, right? And we've got the five, right? So
yeah,
acts of service, gifts, words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch.
yeah.
And then separately, I ask, and what do you naturally give? And
Usually
a
we
lot of
give
times they're the
what
same,
we
but
it's
they
the
can also
same.
be.
Yeah.
What would you say your love languages are?
Mine, I
Mhm.
took the test in this book. It's usually not just one love language, right? There are percentage for each, and
Right.
physical
Mhm.
touch is my number one love language.
Okay.
I like to cuddle and always
Uh-huh.
holding hands. Yes, physical touch makes me feel loved. And it's interesting. It's true. Yes, but there
Let
are
me
other
ask you a
things like
question.
quality
If you know
time.
the
Yeah.
top love language for men, what they want to receive, at least of the thousands of people who are in our database, is physical touch.
Oh, how
So
interesting. I got words of affirmation, physical
gifts
touch.
is the lowest for men. Gifts tends to be the lowest for everybody,
Yeah,
for
gifts.
both genders. But more women show appreciation and want appreciation through gifts. And I think it's interesting because gifts sort of gets a really bad rap. I mean, people will often think automatically, oh, if your top language is gifts, or if you're into gifts, that you're materialistic. And it's really not necessarily. It can be like that, but it's not necessarily at all. It could just be that you really appreciate when you're away from someone, you're thinking about them. And gifts is the one thing that you can do when you're not with somebody to show that you were thinking about them. You can get them some hot sauce that's their,
Yeah,
that they like
something
spicy
small.
food.
Some
So you
people
get them some hot
appreciate it.
sauce and
Yeah.
you bring that to them. So it doesn't have to be something expensive, and it doesn't have to be all the time, by any means. But I guess I'm getting a little defensive because gifts is my second that I give. It's one of my,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I was born in Russia, grew up in Ukraine, and in those countries, flowers are popular. It's such a huge culture. We have markets of flowers. The flower shops are open day and night. So women are so used to receiving flowers. Like if even if there's a small conflict, men come back with flowers. You know,
Yeah,
flowers are
I like that.
everywhere. This is
Flowers,
little thing. It's
they go a
very
long way, It's not just, hey, I mean, it can be like, hey, oh, I was wrong. I apologize for what I did in, that argument. I didn't handle it right. And I see your point. Talking through things is super important. But how much better is it if they have gone out and got flowers
I
and they bring
know.
that? And it's something literally fresh, but something, fresh and new.
And
Um,
not because there's a birthday or some event. You just go to the Trader Joe's to get groceries. There's like $7 flowers. You come back home and
exactly.
it's going to put smile on her face, right? Little things.
Totally.
Why not?
Totally. So it's
Like, why
still
not?
important, I think, for people to recognize that when they're in a relationship, that they know their partner's love languages, that they talk about it. You can read the book or take the quiz or whatnot. But then also to not just know what they are, but to try to give more of what that person's love language is, and also then to recognize when their partner is doing something, right? So maybe your husband is really, or your partner is really good at acts of service, you
Mm.
know, taking out the trash consistently, and, refilling your wine glass when it's running low, and, doing things, right? He borrows your car and he fills it up with gas or whatnot. Although that's also kind of a gift. But also to try to give what you think that person may want
Yeah.
more. It might not come as naturally for you, but I think it makes things a lot easier.
And we started to talk about AI a little bit. And right before this podcast episode, I was looking at the App Store and doing research on AI and dating. There are so many apps where you can get yourself a AI boyfriend or AI girlfriend. Isn't it
Oh.
terrible?
Well, I think that that's great in terms of, like, I mean, the novelty, right? Just trying it out because it's fun, it's new, it's different, it's trendy. I actually don't have a lot of knowledge or experience with that specifically, so I can't speak to any of those apps or sites.
Yeah.
But I will just say, yeah, it's definitely not a
Thousands
replacement
of
for a
people
real
downloaded the
boyfriend
app.
or
Maybe people downloading just because they're curious.
yeah, it could be
It's interesting
curiosity.
to
I'd
see
also
their
be
retention.
interested to know whether these are like mock dates. Like if you have an AI boyfriend or AI girlfriend and they're able to give you feedback on the
Mm,
dates or on the interactions, that
mm,
would be much more valuable to me
mm.
than just a chat bot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to meet your needs for communication with female, but it's not the real person or with the
Right,
male.
right. But I do think that, depending on the person, if the person has, you talked about loneliness at the beginning of the episode, and I think that there are some, super lonely people who maybe are really introverted,
Yeah.
and maybe they just don't want to do online dating at all. they don't want to do matchmaking. I think there is a person out there who can benefit from like just having a kind of communication buddy. I
Yeah.
don't know that that's really any different. I don't know how it would be different than just like the sites that have been more popular in the past, where it's just like communicating with a friend or
Yeah.
um, yeah, I guess that the idea is that that person immediately has to, be your boyfriend or be your girlfriend or pretend to be your boyfriend or girlfriend. So the dynamic is designed to be different, but I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
we'll see where it
tough. Like
goes,
you're not
right?
getting
We
that
don't
physical
know.
touch. You're not getting to kiss them. You're not getting to, be intimate with them.
They're going to create robots soon, so
They're going to create what?
robots.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the robots. I know. Yeah. Have you ever seen a movie called Lars and the Real Girl?
No.
Oh, it's really very interesting. It's like with Ryan Gosling, and it's from, I don't know, probably 15 years ago or something. But it's about a guy who gets a blow up doll and then
Hmm.
pretends that the blow up doll is his girlfriend. And it's a lot about how the community responds,
Hmm.
his family and his friends respond, and how well, I'll just leave it at that. I
Yeah.
don't
People
like when
get
people give away too
attached.
much about movies.
People can get attached to AI girlfriends, AI boyfriends, robots, because we like, for example, our stuffed animal. Oh, I love my stuffed animal. Or so people
Right.
have that tendency to get attached to not only humans, but it
Right, I
is
know.
very
Like,
strange
oh, another
territory
movie
to
that
discuss. Yeah.
I know it is. Another movie that came to mind is Her, if you've seen
Mhm.
that one,
Yes, yes.
with Joaquin Phoenix. That was really good too, where, yeah, it wasn't a blow up doll, it was a robot, a computer that he fell in love with. Yeah, I have heard a lot of things, but I have yet to have uncovered a story where that actually happened with someone who is a client of mine, or a candidate. But it probably has existed with people in our database, and I just don't know it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how tech blends with our everyday real life and how it can enhance the process. Um, I think that, for example, like the mock dates and improving your communication, I think
Mm.
technology can be a great use case for that. And also cross collaboration. So one of the things that we're working on, Smart Match and myself, is a tool that can help matchmakers much more efficiently collaborate with each other and share matches, so that it's not just a Facebook group and we, randomly put in certain information, and matchmakers may or may not be checking that Facebook group. I mean, this is how it is now. And then and some matchmakers aren't even a part of that Facebook group, right? But even the matchmakers who are, they might be checking it at different points. They might, it's very time consuming to look at this profile and then say, okay, let me look through my database, use all these filters, come back, message the person. It can be
Yeah.
way more efficient in the identification. So I think where where tech is also going is just very, very
Automate those
quickly
things, right? Make it easier on
automating.
your side and speed up the process.
Yes, automating, yeah, not only the matches, the match possibilities in my own database, but automating match possibilities across all matchmakers, or as many matchmakers are signed up for, said platform. Like that kind of power, that kind of networking power is it's
Gonna make a
it's
difference.
unreal. Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah. Yeah, we started with loneliness, and I wanted to say that not everyone who is alone is lonely, and some people that are in relationship feel lonely. So it's a
True.
bigger problem, but thank you for working on this important issue and making a difference in the world. by connecting people. And I know that some of them fell in love and got married and had babies. If you could talk a little bit about it and share this success stories with
Oh
us.
my gosh. I would be happy to. So yes, this is why I do this work, right? Is for these success stories. I have matched up dozens of couples in my lifetime, and that feels pretty special. I'm hoping for it to be millions at one point through DateSpot, but I'm really, really happy about the couples that I've matched up. And the first person I successfully matched up was very difficult on paper. Um, she was a woman who has a larger body type and was fairly selective about the type of, the caliber of person she wanted. And here in the Bay Area, also where, everybody's so fit and wants fit and, focused on, we're overly focused on work a lot of the time.
Career, yeah.
So yeah, and
Focus.
it's harder even in Silicon Valley to and the Bay Area as a whole to prioritize. But I ended up finding somebody at a hotel restaurant who I thought could be a good match for her. She's such a sweet woman. And they had a Brady Bunch situation where people from, her family got together with his family and they're still together. And I've gotten like little appreciation notes from her. So you never really know, by the way, who you will be successful with, right? Some of the super attractive people might just be more selective, pickier. I have matched up one of my best friends, so that was a really sweet one.
A good
And yeah, I
successful story.
have also like individually, I officiated a wedding
Oh,
for a couple, here in the Bay Area too. And I've actually met DateSpot babies already. I
oh,
know. So just in
that is
like,
wonderful.
handful of years, there are already DateSpot babies from different families, which is amazing. And sometimes I
That's
pinch
how
myself just
rewarding
that this is
career
my
looks.
job. Yeah, I just can't believe that that I've made such an impact in people's lives and that I get to do this work. It's really amazing. And I credit you too on creating a podcast that is so unique, that isn't, focused on one niche, where you get to talk to people about their passions. I think that that's so interesting to hear about. And I also think that it's such an important question, that I not only do I ask people, it's in our onboarding quiz, what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
But actually, when we do video clips, the prompt is, what are you passionate about? To tell
Oh,
us something that you're passionate about, because people light up, right?
yeah.
And then it makes it so much more, they're so much more interesting talking about something that they really love. So
Wonderful.
I love that you focus on passions and that people don't get bored with your podcast.
Yeah. I ask people what they're passionate about, but I also ask them, what does kindness mean to you?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
And today I thought maybe I should ask you not only about kindness, but what is love? Because we have our Valentine's Day episode.
Yes. So I'm going to get a little bit spiritual and religious here. So I apologize if I, ahead of time, if I offend anybody, but I'm just going to speak my truth and what I believe and my
Thank you
passions.
for that. Thank you.
I believe that love is God and God is love. That's my definition, my own definition. So I think that anytime you do an act of kindness, you are, serving God and in a way being a piece of the universe of God too. I really think that kindness is in our day-to-day life. It's these micro just decisions, these micro choices, just to be a little bit more patient, just to be a little bit more forgiving, just to give a little bit more grace, be a little bit less judgmental, be a little bit more open-minded, right? Smile just a little bit more, smile with your eyes, smile like you mean it, to say hello to the person that's passing you on the street, even if you're busy and you don't know the person. I think it's just these moments. And there are these moments too where if you're saying hi to the person or smiling at that construction worker, who you're passing, that you see them, you're acknowledging them and they're acknowledging you, and you're putting out kindness and they're kind of recognizing it or putting, bringing kindness back to you. And I think these little moments where you connect, where you truly connect with people who you love, people who you know, and even people who you don't know, I think those moments are love too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. And I hope we can do it again.
Definitely.
Good luck with your matchmaking.
Thank you so much. And if you have any
I hope more people will sign up after this episode.
I hope so, yes. To listeners and viewers, feel free to sign up for our paid route where you receive proactive matchmaking at datespot.love. And even if you don't want to pay, if you just want to see, if you're identified ever as a potential match for clients, you can go to the FAQs, and at the bottom of the FAQs, there's a candidate page, and you can sign up for the free route even there. So yes, feel free to sign up, and we're happy to see who we have for you. We're a very inclusive company. If someone is, gay, bi, we accept and work with LGBTQ, that community. We work with, I have a trans client who I'm working with right now. I have an asexual client who I'm working with right now. We work with, we can work with anyone with the model, which was really nice.
We're in the Bay Area.
Big values, yeah. And if you have any single friends too, friends or family, feel free to tell them about DateSpot. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I definitely will.
Great. Thanks again.
Thank you.